What is up, fantasy fans? As always, I am Shay from the channel Zachary Shay, and today I have a fun list to bring you. I want to bring you the top 10 duos from Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson really the Malazan universe, to include novels of the Malazan Empire, Paths to Ascendancy. Those are by E.N.C. Esselmont, and the Carcanis series as well by Steven Erikson. Though I think most are from Book of the Fallen, with a couple of exceptions. So for my honorable mentions, it'll actually be two characters from the novels of the Malazan Empire series. They both first appear in Return of the Crimson Guard, but they really become more of a duo in the following novel of the Malazan Empire. And I'm talking about Kyle and Greymane. I've come to understand that the truth isn't really what's important. What really matters is what people agree is the truth. When you do not recognize the wrongs of the past, the future takes its revenge. Now, what I really enjoyed about this duo is you kind of have this sort of younger character within the Malazan universe. And by the way, this will be full-on spoilers for all Malazan stuff, by the way. Full-on spoilers. So you've been warned. I like how you have someone who has kind of been aged by war. You can see echoes of this in Paths to Ascendancy. You see a younger Greymane. And then you have somebody like Kyle who signed on with the Crimson Guard, didn't really know what he was getting into, but there is a level of experience because we know he comes from a sale. But it's almost a mentor-mentee. I would have liked to have seen it more fleshed out, though I do think the bond between them is very strong. You can see it when Greymane raises Kyle to Fist. Or was it High Fist? I don't remember. But he raises him very highly in the Malazan ranking in Stonewielder. And when you see Greymane make his seeming sacrifice, you feel that it weighs heavily on Kyle. For my other honorable mention, all right, and for my other honorable mention, I wanted to go with Lestara, Yill, and Pearl. You will have to choose, Lestara Yill, between your loyalty to the adjunct and all that Pearl represents. This is one of a few on the list, or well, I guess it's not on the list. It's more than just a duo. Like, yes, there is some back and forth between the two, but there's also romantic entanglements there. And I know a lot of fans hate Pearl. I really liked Pearl, and I was a little heartbroken at the resolution of this sort of duo. I thought their arc in House of Chains was really captivating. While Pearl, I can't really defend his actions, I do feel for him. I think that he did not deserve the fate he got, even though he wasn't the most likable character. I don't think he deserved that fate. For my number 10 pick, I'm going to go with this one. Sort of has romantic undertones, though not really, and that is Samar Dev and Karsa Orlong. He would make them not his followers, but his companions, and together they would bring civilization to ruin whenever and wherever they found it. Because for all the good it created, its sole purpose was to breed followers, enough to heave into motion forces of destruction, spreading a tide of blood at the whim of those few cynical tyrants born to lead. Lead, yes, with lies, with iron words, duty, honor, patriotism, freedom, that fed the willfully stupid with grand purpose, with reason for misery. We get introduced to this sort of duo, I believe, in Bone Hunters. Sounds right. I could be wrong, though. But yeah, we see it throughout Toll the Hounds. We see it in Reaper's Gale as Karsa is gearing up to fight Troll's brother. Dang, it's been a while since I've read it, but Rulad Gud. Rulad Sengar. Rulad Gud. I think their duo is really fun. I am not the biggest Karsa lover. I've been pretty open about that. If I were to make a list of top 20 characters, I don't know if Karsa would be making the list. Just purely top 20 from Malazan. It is just personal preference. He doesn't really do it for me. But I really appreciate his the role he takes in the narrative, and I do enjoy the back and forth between him and Samar Dev. All right, and then for my number 9 pick, I want to go with Pickering and Blend. She grinned. Half my back pay, Captain, will be a step behind you. Pay up at Hood's Gate. Again, there's sort of a romantic involvement here, but this is the last one on the list to really have elements of that. I think that their back and forth is really fun. I almost didn't include them, and they're lower on the list because I feel like they really bounce well off of Ansi as well. So it's like, are they better as a duo, or are they, but there's enough of them on their own, starting from Memories of Ice all the way up until, Toll the Hounds. And even in Orb Scepter Throne, there's some stuff. They have a lot of back and forth with each other, and I found it very, very, very enjoyable. It's kind of a more comedic one, but there is some heart in there as well. And speaking of a more comedic duo within the world of Malazan, at my number 8 pick, I want to go with Fiddler and Hedge. They used all of us, Hedge. That's what gods do, eh? So you don't like it? Fine, but listen to me. Sometimes what they want, what they need us to do, sometimes it's all right. I mean, it's the right thing to do. Sometimes it makes us better people. You really believe that? And when we're better people, we make better gods. The most romantic undertone. No, I'm kidding. But the bromance that these two have it's really exceptional. I get the idea that in gaming this, there was more Fiddler and Hedge material, but actually in the series, like, that's kind of back matter stuff. It's happened before Books of the Fallen. And we don't get a lot of scenes with them together because, the Fiddler goes on to Seven Cities at the end of Gardens. But, when Hedge comes back to the world of the living, and when he sort of creates his like Walmart brand bridge burners, and him and Fiddler kind of reconcile each other, but Fiddler, he almost seems resistant to it. And this is where the heart comes in. It's more than just comedic. Fiddler almost seems resistant to this connection with Hedge because Fiddler's already lost everyone, including Hedge. So part of him doesn't want to accept that Hedge is back because then that means he could lose him again. But we see the betrayal that Fiddler has for his heart betrays what his mind is trying to tell him. His mind is trying to say, don't let anyone get close. His heart betrays that at the end because he's like, no, Hedge. And you almost see him break when Hedge goes to do his self-sacrifice thing. And you realize that he has that love for Hedge. It never diminished. He always cared. He was trying not to, but he always cared. All right. And for my number 7 pick, I'm going to go with Quick Ben and Kalam. Kalam knelt beside Quick Ben, studied the man's face for a moment, the slack expression, the closed eyes. Then he slapped the wizard, hard. Quick Ben swore, then glared up at the assassin. I should crush you like a bug, Kalam. Right now, I think, he rumbled in reply. A bug's fart might blow you right off this ship, Quick. Yeah, the shaved knuckle in the hole. I mean, you can't, these two are just too iconic to not make it on the list. So yeah, number 7, it's got to be Quick Ben and Kalam. It's almost like I don't even have to voice why. You have, the most dastardly mage you can think of, and you have the most adept assassin. One of the most, I'd say Absolar would probably beat him in an all-out brawl, but Kalam is definitely on that Ralik Nam level, just amazing rogue, while still being like a pretty big and intimidating man. All right, and number 6, we have a comedic duo that are also, there's a lot of heart there, but they're mainly known for how funny and witty they are. And I'm talking about Tahol, Beddict, and Bug, or as we know him to be, male. But I wouldn't say that Bug is male. I believe he is a facet of male's consciousness. But, we see in Carcanus, we see it even in, Books of the Fallen, we see male portrayed very differently than how he carries himself as Bug. I think that bond with the whole is what gave birth to the persona of Bug. It's an aspect of who male is, but it is dependent upon Tahol. Ah, yes, you have trousers to make. Have you enough wool for that? Well, I can make one leg down all the way, or I can make both short. How short? Pretty short. Go with one leg. And then number 5, and I'm probably going to get some flack for this being, lower than number 4. But number 5 is Talk and Tool.
Ah, my friend, the figure replied in a rasp. It is I, Onas Toulon, once of the Terad clan, of the Logros Talani Mas, but now kin to Errol Fail, to Talk the Younger. Kin.
These top 5 are getting into like the legendary territory where I can't think of these characters without the other one. And the thing is, both of these characters were introduced in Gardens of the Moon. The duo didn't come about until the beginning of Memories of Ice, and we really only see them in this sort of duo aspect. There is a convergence in the Crippled God, but for the most part, Tool and Talk only interact in this one book, and it is brilliant. You really buy that these two are brothers. I think it's Tool's best character work. It's Talk's best character work. Better than when Tool becomes a father. Better than Talk's ghost storyline is when Tool and Talk are interacting with each other. I think it is brilliant. I think it's just magnificent. But here's the one that's probably some people are gonna disagree on, because it's another one having to do with the Talani Moss. And my number 4 is going to be Troll Sengar and Onrak.
My friend has seen better days, Troll Sengar said, reaching out to slap Onrak on the back. The thump the blow made was hollow, raising dust, and something clattered down within the warrior's chest. Oh, said the Tisti Eater. Did that do something bad? No, Onrak replied. The broken point of a spear. It had been lodged in bone. Was it irritating you? Only the modest sound it made when I walked. Thank you, Troll Sengar.
Yeah, Troll and Onrak, I much like Talk and Tool, you really buy that these two are brothers. I mean, we just see them go into battle with each other. We see them go on journeys. We see them do so much together. And knowing that Onrak was there for Seren after Troll's death showed that this bond of brotherhood goes beyond just their mortal existence. It transcends time. It transcends mortality. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful friendship. And that's why it's at my number 4 spot. All right. And so at number 3, which a lot of people would have this at like number 1, but I have to go with Dancer and Kellanved. You are too sure of yourself. My confidence has gotten us where we are, as has my wariness and paranoia. At least I think so. So this is, they reached this number 3 spot mainly because of Malazan Book of the Fallen, but also Path to Ascendancy by Ian C. Esselmont. I think it gives so much weight to the Kellanved and Dancer friendship. Honestly, Path to Ascendancy is probably my favorite Esselmont series. I love novels of the Malazan Empire, but Path to Ascendancy just gives so much depth to these characters that we've grown attached to. And there's been some people to say like, oh, Esselmont doesn't write these characters as truthful, or he doesn't write them the way Erikson writes them. Erikson writes them better. Well, first of all, I'd say Teixeira is definitely better written by Esselmont. Just saying, go back and read Gardens of the Moon. I love Erikson. Erikson is in my top 3 authors of all time. Esselmont writes a better Teixeira. I think they both write a great Krupp, and Esselmont writes an amazing Dancer, an amazing Kellanved. You know why? Because he's writing the same one as Erikson. Even when you see characters that behave differently, there's usually a reason for that. It's not just because the two writers can't consistently write these characters. They've been thinking of these characters for years and years and years. So I think it's less of this author wasn't able to get this character's voice right, and more just there's reasons why those characters are serving different purposes within these different books. But they both were on their absolute A game with Dancer and Kellanved. Such an amazing duo. You really see in Path to Ascendancy this friendship begin, and they're presented in sort of like a villainous light at the beginning of Gardens of the Moon, or at least it can be construed that way. And Path to Ascendancy just shows how much of a goofball Kellanved is and how over it Dancer is. Dancer's just like, oh my gosh. And it's so funny seeing that back and forth. And then number 2, we're probably going to get to the least comedic duo of the list and the most heartbreaking, but also heartwarming. And this is the most Frodo and Sam-esque friendship in the whole series. And I'm talking about Mappo and Icarium.
Icarium, such are memories in full flood. We are not simple creatures. You dream that with memories will come knowledge, and from knowledge, understanding. But for every answer you find, 1,000 new questions arise. All that we were has led us to where we are, but tell us little of where we're going. Memories are a weight you can never shrug off.
Yeah, you really can't separate these two characters. I mean, Erikson did, but when that happens, you see a great tragedy for both of these men when they are separated. Icarium is more than just a friend to Mappo. He's his duty. He's his victim in a way. You know, the bond we get between these two characters, I can't say that it's always wholesome or that it's always healthy, but there is a deep, deep love and compassion there between Icarium and Mappo, and it's just heartbreaking to see they get separated, I believe, in Bone Hunters. And yeah, it's my second favorite duo. I loved when we first got them in Deadhouse Gates. I thought that they were brilliant. You know, Deadhouse Gates, I was resisting a little bit. I was like, okay, I just bought into all these characters from Gardens of the Moon. Who is this guy? What even is a Jag? And then I'm like, yeah, no, I love these guys. I love these guys. They almost stole the show, but I don't know. Deadhouse Gates, there's a lot of contention over what the best storyline is in Deadhouse Gates. Honestly, Fellison, great storyline. Duiker, Coltane, great storyline. I'm really struggling to see a weak point in that narrative. Mappo and Icarium are brilliant, and you anybody who knows my channel, y'all know how I feel about Fiddler. I loved his storyline, but my number one, and it's by a country mile, honestly. Like, all of these are great, but number one is the clear winner, and if you've read On to Crippled God, you know why, and that is Gessler and Stormy.
Stop smiling like a sailor, Adjutant Stormy, Nock said, a smile amidst the red, bristling beard. Ain't no adjutant anymore, Admiral. Thin brows rose, and Nock said, title alone gifts the bearer with intelligence? Stormy nodded. That it does, sir, which is why Gessler's a sergeant, and I'm a corporal. We get stupider every year that passes.
Yeah, Gessler and Stormy, they got introduced in Deadhouse Gates. They kind of rode the line between mortal and ascendant for the entire series, and intentionally so. Not only do they not want to be anything higher than a sergeant, neither of them wants to be an ascendant. They value their mortality, and you just see the true nobility of the Malazan soldier encapsulated in these two characters. They give each other shit. You know, Stormy constantly makes comments about sleeping with Gessler's mom, or is it flipped? I forget which. But you know, the bond that these two characters have is beautiful. And at the end of Crippled God, Erikson really twists the knife, but it just goes to show how well that brotherhood was written, and their sacrifice meant something. And the whole thing with the rat dog and the mutt always following Gessler, it was really heartbreaking and really heartwarming at the same time. They're comedic. They are the heart of Malazan. There's many characters that I've said, this is the heart of Malazan. And thing is, Malazan wouldn't be what it is without all those different pieces of its heart, all those different pieces that come together to make one of the greatest stories ever told. And these are the duos I really love. In the future, I want to do other top 10s of Malazan content. Eventually, I want to do like a whole top 20 Malazan characters of all time, because I think top 10 would be like way too hard to decide. But you know, that may not be forthcoming for a while. So peace, guys.